Good morning. We would like to begin our May Shotsuki monthly memorial and adult Dharma service. We apologize for departing from our normal format. We're having internet problems at the temple, and so I thought it would be better to pre-record a service for our Shotsuki. So I would like to begin by reading the names of those who've passed away in the month of May. Hideo Ajari, Eki Akahoshi, Tsune Akatani, Helen Aochi, Kenji Aochi, Fumiko Arimoto, Ada Baba, Hiroko Baba, Douglas Barut Davis, Takeshi Endo, Kikuzo Endo, Roy Endo, Wesley Endo, Heisaku Fuji, Ikutaro Fuji, Kimino Fuji, Toshie Fuji, Tsue Fuji, Yuki Fuji, Kenzo Fujimori, Dorothy Fujimori, Dorothy Fujino, Frank Fujino, Elnora Sonoe Fukuya, Nui Furuta, Soemon Furuta, William Galeota Jr., Masumi Hamamoto, Rose Tomeko Hamasaki, Rokutaro Hanamoto, Kenji Harada, Kuno Hatakeyama, Yasu Hayashida, Daikichi Hazama, Tamotsu Henmi, Kihachi Hirabayashi, Florence Nita Hiramoto, Terry Hiramoto, Nasuko Hirasawa, Kyushiro Hori, Minoru Horiuchi, Io Ide, Masami Isono, Yasu Isono, Hatsue Iwata, Yasu Kanagaki, Frank Mikio Kaneko, Setsuko Kaneko, Aisaku Kasai, Nobue Kawabata, Tamiko Kawabe, Marvin Kawamoto, Zenroku Keiunji, Matsue Kimura, Sei Kimura, Tsuna Kinoshita, Iwao Kishi, Kichinosuke Kobata, George Koizumi, Teruko Komure, Tamejiro Kono, Tsutai Makita, Yoshiyuki Maruyama, Sachiko Matsui, Koito Matsumoto, Kosuzu Matsumoto, Matsuno Matsumoto, Takinojo Matsumoto, Gitaro Matsutani, Hatsuko Matsutani, Jun Matsutani, Misao Matsutani, Ito Misaki, Eiichi Mitani, Marion Miyamoto, Emiko Miyamura, Komume Mizusaki, Iso Mori, Jotaro Mori, Kinue Mori, Hiroshi Morimoto, Yoshi Morimoto, Minako Morita, Takeshi Nakagawa, Ruby Ruriko Nakano, Mary Nakashima, Yoi Nakashima, Miyoko Nakatani, Tatsuno Nakaya, Baby Narasaki, Kimino Narasaki, Hideso Neishi, Yone Neishi, Ayako Nishiori, Tai Ochikubo, Infant Tatsuko Oka, Tetsuo Okai, Chie Okano, Hide Okano, Kikujiro Okano, Hikotaro Okano, Tsunetaro Okawachi, Kazue Ota, Masako Ota, Yasuo Otani, Dana Oto, Asano Otsuka, Rui Otsuka, Toyoshichi Otsuka, Taeko Robinson, Otojuro Sakai, James Sakamoto, Jean Sakumoto, Kishi Sasajima, Natsuyo Sasaki, Yoichi Sato, Robert Shigemoto, Shosuke Shintaku, Umeji Shintaku, Tadao Sumimoto, Mitsuko Tachiki, Mary Takagaki, Shizuo Takata, Masao Takeda, Yuriko Takesaka, Kumeo Tomori, Robert Tanaka, Yukino Tanaka, Nao Tani, Kazue Tanizawa, Reverend Koju Terada, Jinsuke Toji, Kumi Toriyama, Suma Tsuchida, Eimatsu Tsuchida, Daryl Tsujimoto, Kusuo Tsujimoto, Chikao Tsukimura, Eiko Tsukimura, Tokusuke Tsukimura, James Uchiyama, Tei Ugai, Brian Umeki, Hisano Umemoto, Sugae Umemoto, Sachi Uratsu, Moshichi Urushibata, Moto Urushibata, Sato Urushibata, Helen Ushijima, Jack Wang, Yoshio Yamabe, Harold Yamamoto, Michisuke Yamamoto, Naono Yamamoto, Yutaka Jim Yamamoto, Shotaro Yasuda, Hatsumi Yokomizo, Issei Yokomizo, Motohachi Yokomizo, George Yokoyama, Mariko Mali Yoneyama, Yoemon Yoshida, Yoshiko Yoshida, Jun Yoshioka, Sato Yoshioka, Ross Yoshisato. Next, we will have sutra chanting, and today we will chant Juseige, and the words will be on the screen. Namanda, 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 namanda. Gagon chosegan hishimu jodo shigan fumanzok seifu joshogak gaomunyoko fuidai seshu Fusai shobingu Seifu joshogak Gashi jobutsudo Myosho chojippo Kukyo mishomon Seifu joshogak Ryokujin shonen Joe shubongyo Shigumu jodo Isho tenin shi Jinniki endai ko Fushomu saido Shoujo sankumyo Kosai shunyakunan Kaiichi egem Meshi konmoan Heisoku sho akudo Tsudatsu zen shumon Kosojo manzok Iyoro jippo Nichigatsu shujuki Tenko onpugem Ishukai hozo Koseku dokuho Jōdai shuchu Seppo shishiku Kuyoi saibutsu Gusoku shutoku hon Ganne shitsujōman Tokui sangai yo Nyobutsu mugechi Tsudatsu mi fusho Gangaku erik Toshi saisho som Shiganya koka Daisen okando Kokusho tennin Touchin myoke Namandabu Namandabu 三に四苦毒平等正祭道本菩提心お上安楽国ナマンダーナマンダーナマンダーナマンダーナマンダー。Thank you. Next, I'd like to deliver the Dharma message. Today, I thought I would talk a little bit about time. And the largest time unit that I'm aware of is called a kalpa. Kalpa. K-A-L-P-A. And you may have heard that term when we recite the three treasures. There's a section at the end when actually you don't recite it, but you hear the minister say, even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now, kalpa in Japanese is pronounced ko, and there's a kanji for it. And it's a translation of this Indian term. One definition of a kalpa is the amount of time it would take for a celestial deity floating around in the skies, coming down to earth and rubbing her sleeve against a giant boulder once every 3 years, and the amount of time it would take for that giant boulder to be worn down to a pebble. So there's other versions too with like seeds in a giant field or something. It's this huge measurement of time, but without necessarily like a set countable amount. And it's used in Indian spirituality, Indian cosmology. So it's interesting. In the three treasures, when it says even through myriad ages of kalpas, but the Japanese is actually much more specific. Hyakusenman go nimo ai o goto katashi. So hyakusenman go. So the go is the kalpa, and then hyaku is 100, sen is 1,000, man is 10,000. So I tried to figure that, and I came up with 1 billion. So in 1 billion kalpas, maybe, is it really that countable when the basic unit, the kalpa, kind of isn't? That's why sometimes I like to use zillions or gajillions, right? This number that sounds like millions or billions, but isn't a real number, but implying those kind of cosmic measurements. So there's another place that happens. We hear it in chanting if we chant Shoshinge, and it appears in the larger sutra, and it's Goko Shi Yui. So in Shoshinge it goes Goko Shi Yui Shi Shoju Jusei Myo Sho Mon Jippo Fuho Muryo Muhenko Muge Mutai Ko and No. So that Goko Shi Yui. Oh, actually, if you've been to a funeral, that's the part the ministers start standing up, and we're chanting Kimyo Muryo Junyorai Namo Fukashigi Ko Hozo Bosatsu Inni Ji Saisei Ji Sayobusho Token Shobutsu Jodoin Kokudo Ninden Shizen Mak Konyu Mujo Shushogan Chohozukeu Daiguze Goko Shiyui Shi Shoju Jusei Myosho Monjippo. Right? So the part when the leader goes up high, Goko Shiyui, that's this Goko Shiyui. And then the ministers sit down, the family starts to come and do incense offering, right? So you may have heard this before, this Goko Shi Yui. Here, it's Goko, 5 kalpas. And this is the time that it's said that Dharmakara Bodhisattva contemplated. That's the Shi Yui. contemplated all these different Pure Lands, trying to come up with how he wanted his Pure Land to be. What would become the Pure Land, Sukhavati, that we know of when he became Amida Buddha. Now, he's also said that Amida attained Buddhahood 10 kalpas ago. So again, here's this kind of measurement, right? These specific, countable instances of something that seems kind of inherently uncountable. So part of it is this kind of hyperbole, right? Not hyperbole. It's not a very fast bowl. It's hyperbole, right? Meaning using these terms to point to something maybe at the limits of countability, or I think even transcending countability, right? Transcending the rational, measurable, right? That we can count or that we can measure. Now, Shinran actually refers to Amida with a very special term, Kuon Jitsujo. And this Kuon Jitsujo comes from the larger sutra, and it comes from one of the stories there where Shakyamuni is talking to everyone, and he says, you think that I was born a prince and, at age 29 or 30 or whatever, left and went and did ascetic practices and then attained Buddhahood under the Bodhi tree, and then that I'm going to die. That's not the true me. The true me is the eternal Shakyamuni, this Kuon Jitsujo. So I looked up, and actually Shinran then uses that term to refer to Amida as this Kuon Jitsujo Buddha. Not 10 kalpas ago, but uncountable kalpas ago in the distant past. And Shinran even writes a couple of wasan, the poems, about this aspect of Amida. That the text says 10 kalpas ago he attained Buddhahood, but it seems that actually the time when he attained Buddhahood is more distant than the number of sands in the Ganges, etc., etc. So again, more hyperbolic kind of examples of measurement showing the immeasurability of Amida Buddha. Right? Immeasurable life, inconceivable light. That we have a statue of Amida, but Shinran appeared to really prefer the Namo Amida Butsu, because when we see the statue, we see an anthropomorphic human form, and it seems something conceivable. It seems something that I can understand, whereas Amida's true aspect is inconceivable. So that's why I kind of think that these numbers and kalpas and nayutas and koti, and there's all these Indian terms pointing to that kind of inconceivable aspect of this true reality. So I don't think that it's that the real time, the way a scientist might think of time, as something measurable. Right? But then I kind of think, do we really experience time as in the way that like an atomic clock or even a digital clock or even an analog clock measures time? Right? And so one example I can think of is the movie Blue Thunder with the helicopter. I don't know why this comes up, but the main character in there, at the beginning of the film, they show him holding his breath and starting his, I don't know if he holds his breath, but he starts the watch and doesn't look at it, and then turns it off, and like he can accurately count a minute. And that plays a role later in the film where he needs to have that perfect timing. I'm not like that. My mouthwash says, swirl it around for a minute. And so I generally have my cell phone there, and I use the clock on there, and I set the timer, and I try to, or I don't need to try. The clock tells me how long to do it. Sometimes, if I don't have my clock, I'll do it anyway, and I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4. I kind of try to count a minute. I usually kind of forget by 30 or 40 seconds. Keep going a little longer. Okay, that's probably good enough. Other times, I decide, you know what? I got to check that email, or I got to look something. I'm gonna look at something on the computer real quick while I'm doing this. And I run over to my computer and look, and okay, yeah. Okay, I better go back and check the time. 1.5 minutes. So my perception of time isn't accurate the way the clocks is. I didn't think a minute and a half went by, but maybe I got sucked into the world of the email that I was reading, right? And what it was talking about. And then going into that, and all other notions of time are out the window. There's another example I can think of. I kind of mentioned it last week too, but I recently performed with Brian Wong for our Oakland Buddhist Women's Association Spring Luncheon. And fortunately, I videotaped it. I used my cell phone. I stuck it up here in the hondo looking down at the stage, which was a nice view because you can see past the music stands and, you can see everything clearly. And during the performance, Brian was doing something and one of his finger picks flew off. And I remember when that happened while we were playing. And I'm kind of watching him over here and we're playing, and then, oh boy, I didn't say anything. In my head, I noticed, and I remember thinking, oh, recording's ruined. Darn. I was hoping we'd pull a good recording, but man, he lost his pick, Maybe all that didn't go through my head, but I definitely remember thinking, recording's ruined. And then kind of catching myself and thinking, keep playing. Just keep playing. When I look back at the video, I can't even see it. And here, take a look. I don't know if you can realize, kind of see on my face, a reaction to when the pick flew off. If I put up like a thought bubble, recording's ruined, right? How long would it be on there? A half of a second, split second? Right? But it seemed longer in my head than it does when I watched the video. So watching the video, time seems different than it seemed to me in the heat of the moment while I was playing and while all this was happening. Right? And we're playing in time with music at a certain beat. So that's another aspect of it too, right? That we're playing along with a drum machine, so the beat is steady. And so maybe I could measure the amount of time. But there's other things in the video too. Well, another pick falls off, and the amazing thing is it keeps playing. And when I watch the video later, I think it's a good performance. He's amazing, right? Even though losing 2 picks, playing a koto, he was not comfortable, or not that he wasn't comfortable, but wasn't used to playing, but he still keeps going. And so I kind of tried to bring it down a little bit so that he could play more gently with his fingers, but then he starts picking harder and we pick it back up, right? So we kind of worked with that, right? Something that maybe I would normally see as negative and that I thought was negative at the time, but in hindsight, I'm glad we ran with it and kept working with it, and we got something different than if that hadn't happened. So, perception of time versus objective time that the timepiece shows us, right, I think are often very different. So thinking about this in terms of Shotsuki, I can say for myself, my mother passed away 24 years ago next month, June. So, first of all, wow, 24 years ago is really? I would think maybe 24 years would seem like a certain amount of time, and it kind of does, but I don't know if I would really think to myself, this is what 24 years would seem like. And then on top of that, it'll be the 25th year, because of how they count our memorial services. And so on the list that I read today, there's a bunch of different ones: 3rd year, 7th year, 1st year, 13th year. There's a whole bunch of different ones, right? Everyone on this list passed away in different years. And so each one of you, if you heard your family member's name being read, it meant something different to you because a different amount of time had passed. Now, I was wondering, this whole thing with the 25th year when it's 24 years, maybe that messes with our perception of time. So if I think, oh, this is my mom's 25th year, but it's only been 24 years, right? Does that mess with my perception of time? Or maybe it can also show us how messed up my perception of time is. Does that make sense? Right? That we would think, oh, it's only been 24, but we call it 25. That messes me up. No, I don't even really know what 24 years is like. This is it, right? Is it different than I thought it should be? Do I think, oh, it feels like it's only 10 years or 15 years, or maybe it seems like 50 years, right? And do I even know what those would be like? That this life that I'm living, this life each of you are leading, is unique, right? And it's not something to be just measured in the kind of objective time of our timepieces and calendars. When we look at those things, very often I think it's like, what? That was 10 years ago? What? I've been here 15 years? Right? It doesn't match our perception. So it's kind of good to be able to measure this. And maybe that's also part of Shotsuki and these kind of keeping track of these special memorial years, is to give us perspective, to lift us out of our perspective, right? My perspective, I'm just like, la, 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 and then boom, what, 10 years? That's different than I was thinking. Aha, my perspective isn't the only one. Showing me, reminding me, this passage of time related to special people in our lives, but maybe also reminding us it's not only about this, it's about life, daily life, not church life necessarily, right? But the life that we continue to lead, and to remember that there's more than just what I see. There's more than just my perspective. I like to think that's part of what Buddhism is about, right? Acknowledging my perspective, I think that's okay, especially in Shinshu, right? That the way I perceive things is the way I perceive things. And yet, not to get stuck in that, but also to be shown other perspectives, to realize my perspective and how unique that is to me, but also enveloped, embraced by the wisdom and compassion of this eternal Amida Buddha, of this wisdom and compassion that's immeasurable and inconceivable, something beyond time and yet permeating time. And that we're all united in this too. And hearing all these names of people who've passed away, that they're also part of this wisdom and compassion, reaching out to us, reaching out to me. And I don't say that to focus it on me, but just to point to the subjectivity of my life, right? That to realize this subjectivity, realize this perspective that I have, but also break me out beyond that, right? Awake me up, open me up to other perspectives and to other lives. So thank you very much for listening to these kind of ruminations on time. It's a really, really special opportunity each month to read this list of names. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I was talking to a friend and telling him that there was, because he's Catholic, and I guess at the church that he goes to, they have a thing when you can put in and ask for names to be read of people who've passed away, and 5 years ago or whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, we do that too. And he was telling me that they had a problem. They kind of screwed up. And that reminded me, I messed up once. I remember getting told or asked, didn't you leave some names out? And when I went back and looked, oh no, I did. I didn't scroll far enough, right? That I try to save paper and use it on my computer, but I didn't scroll down all the way. I thought it was over, but it wasn't. There were 4 names that I didn't read. Guess what? May. It was May last year. I couldn't measure that. I couldn't have told him or you, when did I do that? When did I not read all the names? I'd have to go back to my email, right? And find the email where I apologized and listed the names that didn't get read. This month, a year ago. Right? And so, once again, this reminder that my perception of time isn't necessarily correct. My perception of reality isn't necessarily correct. And yet embraced by the wisdom and compassion of the Buddha, trying my best, continuing to live my life, hoping to maybe manifest a little bit of that wisdom and compassion, even if it's not necessarily coming from me. I would hope that it would be moving through me. So thank you very much for joining us for our May Shotsuki Monthly Memorial and Adult Dharma Service. Let's conclude with Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. Just a quick announcement. This next week, not this weekend, next weekend, I believe it's May 11th and May 12th. May 11th on Saturday, we'll be having our study class with Reverend Marvin Harada, Bishop of Buddhist Churches of America. That'll be at 1 o'clock on next Saturday. And then the following day, Sunday, which is also Mother's Day, we'll be having our Kieshiki affirmation service at 9. And then 10 o'clock, we'll have our Gotane service, but it's also combined with our BCO 850th, 800th joint celebration of the birth of Shinran Shonin and the founding of Jodo Shinshu. Again, with Bishop Harada. And that service will be at 10 o'clock. We will hopefully be up and streaming by then. So if you're online, you can watch it or you can come in person because it should be really nice. There's not going to be otoki. We want to let people go and do their Mother's Day things because it is Mother's Day as well. But we hope that you're able to join us for that special service. So thank you so much. Let's conclude with Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda.